everyone, I'm Georgia and this is The Sound of Georgia. Despite the name of my channel, my most popular video here is actually one about Hamilton. And it's about Peggy and whether or not she was actually in Act 2. Because Peggy is awesome. Here's a picture of me dressed up as her when I went to see the show. So today I'm going to be doing a video that's kind of similar, I guess. And we're going to be talking about another Skylar sister, that being Angelica, who is also awesome. Here's a picture of me dressed up as her when I went to see the show. And really what we're going to be looking about here is, what is Angelica's purpose in the show? All things considered, Hamilton is pretty historically accurate. If you were to write out a list of the historical inaccuracies that looked like this, most of them would be just that the events took place in a different year, and would usually only be off by a year or two. The duel between Lawrence and Lee, which we see in 10 Duel Commandments, actually took place in 1778. Also, Burr was not Lee's second. Hamlet's affair started in 1791, and we absolutely know that this is true in the musical. But the song immediately following Say No to This is The Room Where It Happens, and that covers an event known as the Compromise of 1790. Right after Philip dies, we have the song The Election of 1800. Philip died in 1801. Most of the changes are similar to that, but undoubtedly the biggest fictionalization in the show that doesn't have anything to do with the date is Angelica. Lin wasn't even planning for her to be a major character until he wrote Satisfied. So why is she there, other than to support her sister and make semi-historical quotes? The comma was real. She did write to Eliza that she had married someone who flew too near to the sun. And she also said to her, if you were as generous as the old Romans, you would lend him to me for a while. Translation? If you really love me, you would share him. But the biggest historical inaccuracy about Angelica is specifically her relationship with Hamilton himself. It's definitely a lot more flirty in the musical than it probably was in real life. And in real life, she was already married when they met. I don't even know if she was at Alexander and Eliza's wedding. I don't think she was. But in the musical, she's single. And this is what makes the difference. So we need to talk about a little scene that actually didn't make it into the show. Originally, Lin wanted to include a scene with Benedict Arnold's wife. Like everything back then and related to Alexander Hamilton, it's all very complicated, but all you need to know for this is that Benedict Arnold was an English spy. And when that was revealed, he fled. Hamilton went over to his house sometime shortly after that. I think Washington was there too, and maybe another couple guys. Don't quote me, I can't remember exactly who. But as I said, Benedict had already gone. So what they came upon instead was his wife, completely topless, holding her baby to her chest and screaming about how her husband had been taken. She actually knew exactly what had happened and was in on the entire thing. Does this sound in any way familiar? It probably should, because the reason Lin wanted to include it was to show that a damsel in distress was Hamilton's weak point, which would therefore make it a prelude/foreshadowing to the affair. It's far more believable that he would help Mariah if we've already seen his reaction to another deeply distressed woman wailing about her husband. But the scene wouldn't work so well. Getting back to Angelica, intentionally or not, she provides the same purpose. Not because she's a damsel in distress, she is most certainly not. Like Meg in Hercules. I'm a damsel, I'm in distress, I can handle this. Have a nice day. Actually, back right before the movie released on Disney Plus and the OBC were doing all those interviews over Zoom, I swear they must have been awake for 72 hours straight. So many interviews and they're wearing the same 3 outfits in rotation, it seems. But in one of those interviews there was a "What Hamilton and Disney character are you?" And one of the results was Angelica and Megara from Hercules. And that is totally true, they are just so similar. When I did the quiz, I got Eliza and Miguel from Coco, which makes me so happy, because if there's one thing that makes me cry more than Hamilton, it's Coco. Anyway, dorky tangent over. We know that Alexander is reliable with the ladies, and that he and Angelica click as soon as they meet. But after the wedding, we see in Non-Stop, and particularly Take a Break, that he's not adverse to flirting with other women even though he's married. Like when Angelica says, "Put what we had aside," that's basically an admission that their relationship was more than platonic. Seeing him act that way with Angelica shows his eye will wander, even if he's already married. So it's far more believable that he would sleep with another woman when we saw him do the 18th century equivalent of sexting with his sister-in-law in the previous song. Heck, the song starts with "Longing for Angelica, missing my wife." Longing definitely seems a bit more romantic than missing. And Angelica gets name dropped, whereas in that sentence Eliza is just "my wife." The way Alexander and Angelica's relationship is fictionalized in the show means that she provides the prelude/foreshadowing that would have been contained in the scene with Peggy Arnold if Lynn had been able to include it. There's definitely still hints of Alexander's weakness being a damsel in distress, with the times his mother's mentioned, but Angelica shows that his eye can wander, so is Mariah that big of a shock? Also, when I first listened to the album, I thought Angelica was the one he had the affair with. Don't ask me why. So I think that is one of the purposes Angelica serves in the musical, whether it was intentional or not. And that's everything I've got for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed, but let me know what you think about all this. Stay safe, guys. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in my video next time. So long, farewell!